Hello, lords and ladies of the internet. I'm the King of Candor, and today we'll be doing something a little bit different. Today, I'll be fixing the Darth Maul plotline from the Clone Wars TV show. Now, many of you are probably confused since Darth Maul dies in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Well, they brought him back for the TV show and made him a central character in some of the plotlines. This has always bothered me, and many others with his revival feeling cheap and lessening the impact of his death on the whole franchise. Now, before I get too far into the explanation, YouTube told me to ask you to subscribe, and I want to set a few ground rules for myself. I cannot change the main plot points. Darth Maul must be used, and I can't change his character from the way he was written in his show. Obviously, there are spoilers ahead. So, let's start by explaining how Darth Maul is used in the show currently, and highlight some of the key plot points. To start with Darth Maul, we have to start with another character, Savage Opress. He is Darth Maul's brother, and is given force powers and training by Count Dooku and Asajj Ventress. Ventress used him in an attempt to assassinate Dooku that failed, and led a wounded Savage to return to the Night Mother for aid. She healed him and gave him an amulet that would lead Savage to his brother Maul. When Savage finds Maul, he's been driven insane and somehow constructed spider legs for himself out of scrap metal and spare parts. Surviving only on scraps and his hatred, Maul is taken home by Savage, where he's cured and given new robot legs. Then, Maul and Savage cause chaos until Obi-Wan shows up to fight them. Obi-Wan loses, but is saved by Ventress, who is pursuing a bounty on Savage. Season 4 ends with Maul and Savage trapped in a cargo container, adrift in space. Maul and Savage then recruit some pirates and attempt to take the base occupied by Hondo Ohnaka, during which the Jedi show up and Jedi Master Adi Gallia is killed, with Maul and Savage assumed dead, but they're actually trapped in another escape pod without much air. This pod drifts through space until it is picked up by the Death Watch, at which point Maul and Savage team up with Death Watch, who form a plan to reclaim Mandalore and slay their common enemy Obi-Wan. You can think of the Death Watch as a bunch of radical extremists from Mandalore. This group goes and recruits the Black Suns, who are like a mafia organization, after they literally behead everybody there. Out of fear, the Pikes, who are like a drug cartel, declare loyalty. The group then goes to the Hutts, who are another mafia group, and forces them to comply after some hostile negotiations, which gives Darth Maul, Savage Opress, and Death Watch the army they need to retake Mandalore. However, feeling like a pawn in all these machinations, Pre Vizsla, the leader of Death Watch, plans to kill the brothers after they give him Mandalore. On Mandalore, Maul and Savage use their criminals to cause chaos throughout the world, while Death Watch shows up to stop them. This is all part of a plan to make Death Watch look like the good guys, so the people willingly accept their rule. After the plan is primed, Death Watch and the brothers take over Mandalore and imprison the current ruler, the Duchess Satine. Maul speaks of how Vizsla will be a good puppet, and how Mandalore will be a fine place to run his crime empire from, when they are betrayed and locked in prison. This causes a split to form in Death Watch. It's nothing now, but many members do not like the cowardly betrayal of Maul and Savage. While in prison, Maul finds the previous Prime Minister and recruits him as his new pawn, planning to assassinate Vizsla while blaming the previous Duchess. Maul breaks out and challenges Vizsla to a duel for leadership, which he wins, and the split in Death Watch is finalized. Those who could never be loyal to an outsider flee, and the rest join Maul and Savage. From here, the Duchess escapes, and she calls Obi-Wan for help. He predictably shows up, and after a failed escape attempt, Maul kills the Duchess and orders Obi-Wan locked up to suffer. Obi-Wan is eventually broken out by the dissident members of Death Watch who help him flee off-world. Before Maul and Savage can take stock of the situation, though, Darth Sidious himself shows up. He duels the brothers, killing Savage and taking Maul as a prisoner. From here the show actually ends until Disney takes it up, at which point Maul is somehow back in control of the crime syndicate and is on Mandalore. When Ahsoka finds out, she asks for help from the Jedi and leads an army to retake Mandalore and capture Maul. The plan is a success, with Maul going underground and evading capture until he confronts Ahsoka and explains to her how Darth Sidious is about to take over the galaxy and how the Force showed Maul a vision of a man named Anakin joining Sidious and leading Sidious's armies. Ahsoka obviously doesn't believe him, and after an intense duel, Maul is recaptured. However, before Maul is brought to justice, Order 66 is announced, with the clones attempting to kill Maul and Ahsoka. She frees Maul so he can be a distraction against the clones, which actually leads to Maul being able to escape. For the purposes of the rewrite, this is where the Maul storyline ends, since everything written past this point was done so with the idea that Maul would be alive and the consequences therein. Now that you've seen what Lucasfilm and Disney did with Darth Maul, what would I have done differently? In my rewrite, I would start from about the same area, with Savage Opress being healed and given his quest to find Darth Maul. However, instead of a trash planet, Savage finds a hidden base, which appears damaged from either an old attack or a violent eruption, and is on a distant world. He can use the same strange amulet, the tracking thing that the show gave him, to find this place. While here, Savage fights through some droids and other automated defenses with his lightsaber pike, until he gets inside and finds a long-abandoned room where Darth Maul previously lived. This room is blown apart and damaged, and as he goes through the wreckage, Savage starts to hear whispers until he finds a damaged holocron. Now, for those of you who don't know, holocrons are these weird mixes of tech and magic that can hold all the teachings of a Sith as well as part of their personality inside. It's unclear if it's an AI or an aspect of the Sith that's inside the holocron. Either way, the goal of the holocron is to teach those who find it. This was Darth Maul's secret holocron he finds. As Savage activates it, it makes a holographic Darth Maul appear. Savage looks at the hologram and asks, "Brother?" This is where the episode ends. Instead of heading home, Savage stays and studies the holocron. Time passes as he meditates, and its damaged nature becomes clearer. It shocks him once, and he passes out while using it, and he keeps hearing whispers all around him. Eventually, Savage, while using the holocron, hears Maul's voice, much clearer than normal. It's coming from a security feed, and Savage sees Maul has returned in his hideout. Savage eventually confronts Maul, where Maul immediately prepares for a fight. Both men are unarmed, and a duel breaks out between them, with a desperate Savage eventually drawing his lightsaber pike, at which point Maul disarms him, and then he realizes he isn't dealing with a looter. They sit down and speak, while the holocron begins growing brighter and pulsing more unstably in the background. Eventually, Savage goes to retrieve the holocron to show Maul what he learned from it when it explodes and knocks Savage unconscious. Savage wakes up and sees Darth Maul standing over him, Maul having treated the wounds that Savage received. The two work out a plan to go to the trash world and salvage both halves of Darth Maul's lightsaber, which Savage gives to Maul. From here, we combine several episodes from the show. Maul and Savage agree to use Hondo Ohnaka's pirates to cause chaos to lure Obi-Wan out. They succeed, and Obi-Wan, along with Jedi Master Adi Gallia, arrive to fight them. Knowing of a bounty on Savage, Asajj Ventress also arrives to attempt to bring him in. During the lead-up and first fight, Maul is explaining to Savage that Savage must speak and be the one to strike the first blow, claiming it's part of their training. Asajj Ventress and Obi-Wan eventually cross paths, causing Obi-Wan to chase her down for answers, while Savage corners and kills Jedi Master Adi Gallia with the lightsaber pike. Savage is convinced that Obi-Wan has fled, so he and the pirate crew board a ship and prepare to leave. Hondo finds Obi-Wan and Ventress and offers to help them if they agree to help him regain his crew. Aboard the ship, several fights occur, with Hondo eventually convincing his crew to return on everyone, launching Savage and Maul and escape pod adrift, while Obi-Wan and Ventress steal another ship and fly away. They land in a nearby colony, where Ventress leaves, and Obi-Wan contemplates what he saw, remarking how Savage fought with the ferocity of two great warriors. While adrift, the brothers would discuss a plan, and during the discussion, Maul tells Savage that Savage must do all the talking and manipulating, saying that guile is an important part of one's Sith training. From here, the show would progress as it did normally, with Death Watch rescuing Savage and Maul. However, Savage is the one leading negotiations. Maul's careful not to say much, allowing Savage to become the face. At one point, Savage asks Maul why he doesn't wish to take more credit, and Maul says his old master is likely out there, and if he knew Maul had lived and was building his own power base, Sidious would destroy them both. They gain control of the crime families through similar means as they had before, and even retake Mandalore. Nothing here has changed, except Savage speaks more and is leading the conversations. Eventually, Savage duels Vizsla and kills him, and the Duchess even escapes like normal. However, when Obi-Wan attempts his rescue, this scene is different. Obi-Wan is standing there, attempting to reason with Savage while he holds Satine hostage, only speaking to him and not even acknowledging Maul, who's walking nearby. This causes Savage to go angry, and he says, "You ignore your greatest failure, Master Jedi? Can't you see who stands before you? Darth Maul returned with a new apprentice." Obi-Wan would reply that he only sees one Zabrak before him. During this conversation, as Savage has the Duchess hostage, Maul is pacing to his left. The camera would start behind Savage, looking at Obi-Wan, and then slowly rotates around during the conversation, with it passing behind Obi-Wan's head as he says he only sees one Zabarak. At which point, we see Savage is holding the Duchess, and there's no Darth Maul. Savage would look over to see his brother is gone, with Obi-Wan saying Savage is obviously ill and offers him help. Savage looks dejected and replies, "For the second time, you've taken my brother away from me. I think it's time I took something of yours," as he stabs the Duchess. Obi-Wan is distraught, and he orders Obi-Wan arrested so he may stew in his suffering. From here, the rest of the main story beats that Darth Maul participated in are done by Savage instead. Now, when Obi-Wan, though, is freed by the rebels from Death Watch, he duels Savage, eventually knocking his lightsaber pike away. Before Obi-Wan can go on for the finishing move, Savage barrels away and reaches into his cloak, drawing the rebuilt version of Darth Maul's lightsaber. They duel again. However, Savage has totally changed combat styles and is fighting exactly like Darth Maul, which completely throws Obi-Wan off. This is long enough for Savage to get the upper hand and kick Obi-Wan off a balcony. Before Savage can finish him, though, the rebel Death Watch soldiers show back up and rescue Obi-Wan, leading him to a ship that'll take him off-world. While Savage is dealing with the fallout of this situation, a spy informs Darth Sidious of a man claiming to be Darth Maul, wielding his lightsaber and having killed the Jedi who lives on Mandalore. Sidious fires her like in the normal show, and after speaking with Sidious and insulting him as a weak master for letting his brother die, Savage and Sidious duel. Savage uses his pike again, which starts out fine, but the pike is eventually destroyed by Sidious. Savage once again draws Maul's lightsaber out and the fight continues, with Sidious cutting the blade in half, just like Obi-Wan did in Phantom Menace. Sidious eventually disarms Savage and tosses him off the side of the landing strip, with Savage hanging down off the ledge, mirroring what happened in Phantom Menace. Savage has flashes to the security camera recording he saw of the fight Obi-Wan had with Maul, and remembers the move Obi-Wan pulled to kill Maul. Savage attempts the same, landing perfectly, drawing the lightsaber to him and slicing Sidious in half. Or so he thought. Sidious knew this was coming and simply ducked under the blade before stabbing Savage in the gut. While Savage is shocked, Sidious simply whispers in his ear, "He was weak, so he died." The show would then cut. If it were up to me, Savage would die here like Maul should have in the show, but Sidious keeps Savage alive and uses him as a pawl to rule Mandalore until the end when Ahsoka assaults it with the clones. The season end would play out with Savage doing the things Maul did. So that's my rewrite. I personally would never have brought back Darth Maul, but this is the best way you could do it in my opinion. Him being a digital ghost, holocron, psychological break for Savage is enough of a gray area that you could have Darth Maul doing things in the show and interacting slightly with characters, but it allows him to stay where he needs to be, dead, which doesn't ruin death in Star Wars any further. I also like the idea that the holocron bonded enough with Savage that it wanted to keep teaching him, even though it was damaged. Maybe it's because they're brothers, or maybe the holocron was just programmed to be a teacher so much it overwrote that. This is also why it kept trying to teach Savage until the very end, when Savage's mind pushed the holocron's ghost thing out of his head, having come to terms with his brother's death. Thank you for watching this far. If you enjoyed the content, I appreciate if you like and subscribe. I look forward to your candor in the comments below, and as always, have a great day.